Ladies and gentlemen, we're glad to have you on today's edition of Press R. On Press R, we do not suppress our emotions. What we do is to make sure that our good sense guide and control our emotions as we express our views on our debate. Indicted for 34 counts of felony, former U.S. President Donald J. Trump was arraigned to the law courts in his country on March 31 last week. That is the notion of a state of law in practice. Cameroonian secessionist sponsors based in the United States of America have been jailed for illegal arms trafficking, conspiracy in kidnapping, and instigation of terror, among other charges. That is the state of law. Many people are pondering whether the same notion has the same meaning in Cameroon. Maybe not with the same level of applicability, but when a seasoned international legal guru like former Batonier Akedemuna writes an open letter to the Cameroonian parliament to handle what he joins others to call an increasing spiral of corruption scandals in the country. This only points to the fact that he believes there is the rule of law in Cameroon. But wouldn't he believe? Why would he not believe when there are so many former top ranking state personalities languishing in jail for corruption charges, for embezzlement charges in Cameroon? And we are going to use those two notions to handle our topic of today on Press R. We are going to look at how far we've gone with the corruption drive in the country. We are also going to look at the separatist sponsors who are imprisoned in the United States of America and see exactly what impact, what are the effects on the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. To talk about these topics, ladies and gentlemen, you see how sensitive, how topical, and how involving they are for our lives as people from the northwest and southwest, as Cameroonians in general. We have Dr. Yimbo Emmanuel, who is a civil society activist. He is also an academic. We are happy, we are really pleased to have you on Press R today, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Kilian. Happy Easter to all our televiewers. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure shared, Doctor. And next to you is Mr. Akaba James, who is a civil society actor. We just caught him on his way to the country. He's been out, and we said, please come and share our debate with us on Press R, and he said yes. He is here on Press R. Said, James, we are happy to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. It's such a great delight. I always love, participating in the conversation that leads to a better country. Happy Sunday to everyone out there celebrating the Easter.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. And I turn to my right on the set. William Titi Etuwe is the senior staff of the National Anti-Corruption Commission, CONAC. This is not the first time he has defended that organization, that anti-corruption body here, ably. I would think that's just what you're going to tell us, what we have done so far with fighting corruption in the country. Bill, you're welcome to the set.
Thank you very much, Kilian. You just pushed me there to think the anti-corruption commission has been taken to court, and I'm defending it as a lawyer. But I'm not defending, I'm just talking of, telling the public what CONAC is doing, inviting Cameroonians, mobilizing the masses to stand for the fight against corruption, because it's a challenge for each and every one. It's a collective effort. So thank you very much for inviting me. I will say happy Easter to viewers of Press R on CRTV.
You are most welcome, William. You know that there are so many kinds of courts. There is a social court,
okay.
There is even the economic court, and you have the law court. Yes, at every point, at every point, people out there, they hold you to task.
Of course,
You have to defend your organization. Yes, after that, I'm going to introduce Victor Chambama, who is the publisher of Municipal Updates Daily. He is the editor-in-chief of that newspaper. Victor, it's been a while. You've not been in press outset. We're happy to have you today.
Thank you very much, Kilian. To our viewers, happy Easter, and may the this day bring about the fight against corruption and terrorism to a better height, because Christ has resurrected, and we hope his resurrection will renew our hearts to continue fighting against corruption and other vices in the society.
Thank you very much, Victor. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being there for us on Press Hour today. And to set the debate ball rolling, we always start it with the press review to give you what the newspapers fed on in the week that just passed. And Yoti Kalele Songe has been reading that for us on Press Hour. Yoti?
After news of the 30 appointed senators hit the airwaves, the papers followed suit in this week's editions. The Horizon informs readers that President Biya has belittled the opposition while maintaining loyalists. It's a one-party Senate, as seen on the Post. Newswatch highlights the opposition parties that have a seat each in the Senate, but the Post doesn't budge in its narrative, emphasizing that the 6 others are from parties that ally with CPDM or President Biya. Cameroon Tribune has faces of the Senate as per the 3rd legislature, while the Guardian Post complements with profiles of both the old and new senators. Municipal Updates has an article on the Meme population hailing the appointment of Fon Mukete IV Ekokor as senator. Meantime, the lone SDF seat in Senate is mocked on the Guardian Post as miserable and of no use. The Dawn, however, spotlights President Biya's 3 wise men from the southwest. On the whole, there are 19 returnees and 11 new entrants, Cameroon Insider underlines. The press also mentioned the All-Anglophone Conference 30 years on. 30 years after, the Post underscores that the Anglophone problem had to come to an armed conflict. The Horizon goes further with captions like, "The force of argument and not the argument of force," and "The separatist madness has set the Anglophone struggle back considerably." Stories on a stolen baby at the Douala Lakentini Hospital were a page-turner, a claim debunked by the director of the hospital, as reported in the Horizon. A reaction the Guardian Post underlines was spurred by a scandalous viral video on social media, pushing the Lakentini Hospital director to explain that an inevitable late abortion expelled a non-viable fetus. The loss of some Cameroonians due to a ghastly motor accident in Muliwe was equally felt. As Cameroon Insider cries blood spills on the highway again, Newswatch reports that 6 persons were killed and 21 severely injured. The Post has authorities urging road users to respect speed limits and the highway code, while the Dawn writes about the Fako authorities' visit to the victims. There were articles as well on a tornado in Bangasina, central region of the country, that destroyed 74 houses and left 300 persons homeless. Newspaper readers also got wind of the 22 Cameroonians kidnapped by Nigeria Fulani armed men in Ako, Dongamantung division. About the same time, 2 gendarmes and a civilian were killed by Nigerian herdsmen in Akwaya. The papers were also keen on Christians bracing up for Easter Sunday. Cameroon Tribune highlighted some Passion Week activities, and the Guardian Post celebrated prominent Anglophone pastors who have quit the pulpits. Cameroon Olympic magazine came back on the 2023 Commonwealth Day. Detailed accounts on what the Cameroon National Olympic and Sports Committee has been up to featured too. This week as well, the March 2023 session in Parliament ended. While some of the papers report that it was on a satisfactory note, others stress on the need for MPs to tackle the growing insecurity in the nation. These are summaries of the week's news, 'news' 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 'news'
Thank you a million. Yoti Kale Lisonge. We look forward to having you next Sunday for another press review for us to delve into a new debate. And the first of the two topics we're going to treat is about the separatist sponsors who are based in the United States of America. Some of them were imprisoned last week, and we want to look at what effect, what impact that has on that crisis that we have in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. And we're going to just take your views first before we go into some of the issues, who they are, who they have been this far. I'm going to start with you, Victor Cham, when you heard that three more separatist sponsors were imprisoned in the United States of America. I talked about the law in practice. That is, you don't do anything in that country, whatever you do in the world, and you go free.
Thank you, Kilian. When I got the news, I first of all said to myself that the U.S. State Department, be it the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, they are not sleeping. They are at work day and night, because that was an exposure of a cabal that has existed since 2018, and that was just a ripple effect. And the sentencing of those three young men, Francis Cheney, Chiclot, and of course Nestor Langmi, was an indication that the U.S. State Department has been at work from the first day news break out that these guys were involved in arms trafficking and sponsoring of violence back in Cameroon. And to me, that was a great sign that we are at the beginning of something, even though much is still needed to be done.
Yes, Bill, I'm just going to go around in this order.
Yes, I think it's dissuasive. It's a good move, especially as the separatist fighters mostly depend on the hear from those abroad who today have been, some of them have been arrested, some of them have been arrested as sponsors. It's dissuasive in the sense that when we look at the story, these guys, the three, are charged to, they are said to have raised about $350,000 beginning from 2017. This is approximately 210 million. So if you imagine that they could do that, it means there is strong force in sponsoring the actions, the activities of the boys back here at home. So I think it's dissuasive, and I hope that it's not going to end there, because when we look at them, Claude Chi is from Missouri. No, it's from Missouri, excuse me. Missouri is in the central north. That's towards Canada. The other guy, Nestor is in Buffalo. Buffalo is in northeastern United States. Then the Francis Cheney is in Minnesota. Minnesota is in the center south.
Yes.
So they are dispersed, which therefore means that they are not in the same area. It means the guys have a strategy of having representatives or focal points in the entire United States. The United States of America has 50 states. So if we go by that reading, it means that there should be others in the other states, and that's how they're able to raise funds, collect money from people within and out of the United States of America to sponsor the activities of the militia back at home.
Yes, we are going to try to connect with the lawyer who is leading the lawsuit against those people in the United States. We hope that we connect with him. That is Barrister Emmanuel Salai. But before we get to him, when he comes online, we're going to go around. James, when you heard that continuously, because that was not the first time that some of them are being jailed in the United States, what reading, what interpretation did you give to that?
I strongly believe in silencing the guns. in any situation that involves conflict. There are always alternative ways of resolving conflict without use of the gun. So I'm happy that the U.S., is stopping the illegal exportation of weapons to Cameroon to exacerbate the situation here. But then I also want to look at it another way. I believe that weapons should be rendered useless, make the weapons unnecessary. And for you to make the shipping of weapons unnecessary, address the situation on the ground. If the situation got addressed, there would never have been the need for the shipping of weapons. The response of the government to the situation was extremely disproportionate. Use of violence. The government, I remember October 2017, when people were shot right in front of me in Bamenda. We found a defenseless people faced by a government that is supposed to protect them. The government was killing people. And as somebody of moral conscience, you need to stand up and defend humanity. We have a situation of a minority people being faced by a majority. Not just about
Are you talking about the phenomenon of the coffin revolution? But
Yes.
because I want to think that government was not acting. Government was reacting to a provocation.
Well, I wonder how much provocation on armed civilians can give a government. It was just a matter of a conversation. That if the government had engaged and sustained dialogue, for instance, the fighting has been going on for years. If the government has sustained dialogue with this level of commitment, this level of seriousness, that it is sustaining the offensive, perhaps we should have achieved peace a long time ago. There would never have been even a need for people to start shipping weapons from the US to Cameroon. They should have been shipping money for development initiative. We know those people that are very committed to development on the continent of Africa.
Yes, I'll keep it. We're going to come back to you, Dr. Yimbu Emmanuel. Your take, your reading of the action, the legal action in the United States of America on those sponsors of the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon.
Thank you, Kilian. Let me begin by saying that it's a laudable idea, even though a little too late. Permit me use that word, a little too late. We expected this to have happened a long time ago. And if I were to queue up with my colleague here, perhaps if this happened a long time ago, we would definitely have no reason to be talking about arms. We are very good in coining vocabularies, and people keep talking about addressing the root causes. My question is, even these guys who have been picked up and locked up are Americans. Most of them now have American nationality. How does it impact the people on the ground? How does it impact the crisis on the ground? How does it affect the situation on the ground? True that there might be some limited transaction of arms, like of course, and money exchanging hands, but permit me tell you that I live in ground zero, and 90% of the guys who are in ground zero now have basically little or nothing to do with those in the diaspora. They don't even take instructions from them anymore. And what that means is that they now make their money through kidnappings, they make their money through ransom, they kidnap people, get into breaches. They have so much money that they can use to do whatever they want to do. And if I were to come back to what my colleague said, I think that while we appreciate the effort of the government, and the American government, of course, collaborating with the Cameroon government to try to fish out some of these guys, perhaps to silence them. I even heard that some of their Facebook pages were closed down, which is a good move as well, because those were some of the platforms they were using to brainwash people, and of course to extort money from people in the name of promising them that there was an independence that is just around the corner and it will be achieved in a few minutes. So I think it's a laudable idea, and to me, I will still, like every other Cameroonian, will say that if we truly love peace, there is absolute need for us to go back to the drawing board and address the root causes of this crisis.
Yes, we have to. I'm told that Barrister Emmanuel Salai, an international lawyer who is based now in the United States of America, he also has a cabinet in Cameroon, that he is on the line from the United States of America. We just want to know from him. Victor Chan named some of them. Bill Titi also named some of them. I call him Bill. William is Bill. But we want to know from the person who is leading the lawsuit against them. This far, how many of them? Who are the sponsors that have been jailed this far? Barrister Emmanuel, are you with us?
The separatists who are indicted and convicted include Eric Frunji, Wilson Nuyila Tita, Wilson Chefongu, Roger Akem, Alambi Muna, Edith Ngang, Anye Collins Niba, Chamufor Nchumulu, Godlove Mancho. The most recent ones who were indicted in November are Francis Chenyi, La Nesto Langmi, and Chi Claude Ngevenu.
Yes, there you have a good number of them, more than the number that we had on the set from Victor Cham and from William Titi Etuo. Yes, for he has named some who were arrested earlier. Yes. Now, tell us, Barrister, what are their crimes?
The first 10 which I listed are convicted for violation of the Arms Control Act or for seeking to transport firearms, explosives, guns and ammunitions without a license. They bought lots of firearms, sniper rifles, bullets, ammunition, guns, machine guns, and loaded them in containers, but they did not have a license to export them. They tried to export them to Cameroon via Nigeria. That's we found out about it and we reported them to the federal agency called the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms, or ATF, who then led the investigations, and we assisted them, provided them the evidence, and that led to their arrest and convictions.
Yes,
three others who were recently arrested in November of 2022 are charged with conspiracy and providing material support to the terrorist non-state armed groups in the conflict regions. Particularly, they conspired to the kidnappings of the late Cardinal Toomey and the fund of Banso von Sim Binglo. So they're charged with providing material support to terrorists and also for the illegal collection of ransom money, money laundering, and conspiracy.
Yes, Barrister, please, just this question. What next? Yes, are you there? What next? Well, maybe we have a problem of connection. We wanted to know what happens next after these charges. If Barrister Emmanuel Salai, if you are with us, I can see you. Please, what happens after this?
Well, what happens next is that for those that have already been sentenced, for example, Eric Frunji and Wilson Tita, they are already in federal prison where they would spend the next 5 years of their lives for their crimes although which occurred in the U.S. that gravely impacted innocent victims in Cameroon. For the other three, which I mentioned, who were indicted in November of last year, they are held in jail pending trial. The judge denied to grant them bail, so they are in jail, and then they will decide. They will either take the case to trial before a jury or they will sign a plea bargain agreement.
Well, thank you, Barrister. Please don't go away. We are going to comment on what you have said, but we will eventually come back to you to ask you to tell us what impact, because that's our topic today, this will have on the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest. Please just stay on. Don't go away first. We're going to comment on what he has said so far. I want to start again, this time with you, Doctor.
Well, like the barrister said, unfortunately for them, some of them are in jail already. They have been sentenced already, which is good for the, should I call it, struggle, or which is good for those of us who are in ground zero, especially those who were using Nigeria as a transit, to import weapons into our crisis-prone regions. I think it's a good initiative, but like I said from the beginning, Barrister, you agree with me that your efforts are coming a little too late. The guys have devised other strategies, or rather survival strategies. They are almost self-sufficient. They don't need, foreign interventions again for them to go about their operations. So I think that, they say that better late than never. So I think it's a good initiative.
Okay, James.
Yeah, thank you so much, Barrister. I salute your initiative. You're doing incredible work, in helping this out the situation in Cameroon. But I must say that if prisons could end the Anglophone crisis, Kondenge would have been enough. Because if you go there, you find, a lot of prisoners picked up everywhere. If that was the case, Kondenge would have been enough. So when we talk about terrorism, we often mistake the fact that it looks like an act committed only by non-state actors. That's a mistaken conception we have in Cameroon. It looks like when you see an Amber boy, it's automatically a terrorist. You forget to know that there are state military who do terrible things on the ground, among them burning of communities, of houses.
Some of them have been punished for doing that.
Yes, and we salute such initiative. Anything that protects the interests of the minority, of the vulnerable, we salute that. Like the people of Ngabo who were punished, we salute that. There have been people who have done things. We want to see more of that accountability. It is through such actions. Otherwise, I'm saying that we should not, leave the substance, the roots, and only focus on these aspects, like getting these people in the U.S. Otherwise, I'm saying that it should not be construed as an American endorsement of the actions that the government is taking. Because if you look at all the recommendations from the U.S. government, dialogue without precondition, liberate, even the major national dialogue held, they say liberate all the people who have been arrested. Those people have not been liberated. There are people.
So many of them at the end of the dialogue, so many, about more than 300, were released.
Yes, but not all. Though we really wish if all could be done.
Oh, I wanted and that when we were saying that we should.
Yes, that is very important. Yeah. And then there are people in the diaspora who cannot come to Cameroon. If Amber boys are asked to drop their weapons and go to the DDR, it should be the same thing for everybody. Because people who feel like they can't come to Cameroon, they've got nothing to lose continuously, making sure that the struggle continues. So these are we need to look at every aspect of this. Because I see the people are excited, the government has locked up people, but you see people being killed in the
it should be for everybody. What are you referring to? Okay.
Kilian, during the major national dialogue, the government invited some US-based separatists and some in Norway, like Joe Ayaba. Out of fear and the unknown, they refused to come. A few came, but let me tell you that those who came went back as they came. And secondly, Langmi Nestor, like the barrister mentioned about the kingdom of Christian Kajanatuni, may still rest in peace, or continue to rest in peace.
And the phone also.
And the phone also, we're still alive. Nestor Langmi championed the kidnap and boasted on social media about it. And from that day, I can bet you that majority of the population stood up against him.
Wow.
And
doctor said that it's coming too late, or I may agree with doctor that maybe the sentencing is coming too late or somehow, but the process was long initiated. For example, the residence of Tamufo Chumulu was searched in 2019 between May and August, and that is where they found a silencer, AK-47s, ammunitions, and other weapons. And that is how Estangan came on board, because he worked with Chumulu. And all these weapons were bought between March 2018 and March 2019.
Okay.
And when the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco and Firearms launched the investigations, they found out that 2 ships contained arms, and 2 were transported to a resident in Maryland, in Rosedale. And from there, they launched investigations and found out that Chumulu, who is a U.S. Navy service, was the
pioneer.
Not pioneer, one of the pioneers.
Okay.
Yes. And from there now, they helped the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol investigations, and all of these names came on board. Fungi and others.
Thank you. We got the names. We got the names already. Thank you for that detail.
I am against when we say that the boys on the ground are self-sufficient. Who are they killing? Anglophones. Who are they destroying? Us Anglophones. Professor Chad died last month in Bamenda, a renowned professor, a respected academic. He died. Who killed him? So I think we should be able to tell these boys that they are out wasting the lives of Anglophones and Cameroonians for nothing.
Thank you.
Like Akaba said, the guns should not be used to achieve a solution.
Yes, I see you are so eager to react to that in 1 minute, please, James.
Yes, yes, so quickly, yes, nobody stands for weapons on the ground. We don't want to see weapons. One piece. And then when we talk of, kidnappings, when military people go to a football field where people are gathered having a social event and they carry everybody. In fact, not long, they carried like 30 people from, Munya, and then Oku bike riders who went to bury somebody who was killed. They took like how many of them? Today, those boys, not all of them have been accounted. Today, we are even up to this moment, we are talking about Wazizi. Where is the corpse of Wazizi? Just the corpse of Wazizi.
Well, let me go back to that. Let me just make this point without defending anyone.
Right.
It's just about saying the way people function.
Right.
When the military or the security forces, I know that there is one person wanted in a crowd. They come and arrest so many people, and then they start looking for that person. That's what happened. So that actually is not.
Once you fall into the hands of the military, what is a condition for you to be out? You got to pay money. What is that money? It is ransom.
Then I can't talk about that.
I think military.
Now we're not talking about military. We're not talking about military on this side. Please look at Victor. See, yes, we talked about that already. We talked about that already. We have a second topic. We're going to get the last response from Barrister Emmanuel Salai, and let him go and we'll continue. We just want to know from you, yes, you are still there. Thank you for staying on. Barrister, what is the impact of the arrest and imprisonment of those separatist sponsors in the United States? What is the impact back here on the ground?
The impact, as we've been told, the legal team has been told that part of its impact has been that it has helped avoid a potential civil war. Take, for example, if the weapons and the ammunition and the sniper rifles and the grenades and all these huge weapons that the convicted 10 which I listed, if they had succeeded to send those to Cameroon, if we had not been alert and filed criminal complaints against them and reported them to the ATF, and these weapons found themselves in the hands of the non-state armed groups in the conflict regions, what would have happened? It would have been mayhem, chaos, and thousands of more people dead. Our legal actions also have exposed them as terrorists in the United States. Our complaints note that they are terrorists, and now the United States courts have agreed with us and are calling them terrorists. Our actions have also helped slow down the number of deaths because we have blocked the amount of money they have. When we know the bank accounts they have or the financial institutions they use to keep money, whether it's mobile money or otherwise, we have contacted the banks and filed actions to have their accounts frozen. We have also blocked and deactivated hundreds of their social media accounts when it crosses the line of free speech and enters into the realm of criminality, incitement to violence, and incitement to terrorism. But I think the most important impact is we are getting justice for the victims. The thousands of deaths they've directly and indirectly caused by getting them locked up, getting them arrested, getting them indicted. Let's make no mistake, there are thousands of them living in the United States. Our job, and we will continue to do that, is to have all these thousands of people who contributed massively and participated in this so-called Ambazonia government, Ambazonia revolution, and think they're hiding in the United States, is to get them indicted, arrested, and serve their prison time in the United States in order that there should be justice for victims.
Thank you very much. Thank you immensely, Barrister Emmanuel Nsalai, for updating us, for leading that process in the United States of America. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Immensely. Yes, we are not going to stay long on this topic because we have a second topic. Just to round up with this. Yes, Titi, you didn't speak when we came back.
Thank you, Kilian. When I heard Barrister talk, I thought of something, and especially with the release of the information on the indictment of these last three. I've had some puzzles. Now, they were caught, or they wanted to ship arms to Cameroon without a license. It means this equipment had already been bought, put in a container or in a ship to send to Cameroon.
That's what Victor said.
Good, and he said they had to pass through Nigeria. It means at the level of Nigeria, at the receptive end, there is somebody.
Yes.
From where there will be transition
from to Cameroon.
To Cameroon.
Yes.
And here we are talking about borders as well. So this makes us think that the sponsors are not just US based. They are sponsors even around us, that's in the country and out of the country. How do these arms get into Cameroon? I want to believe that this is the first time, because the charges that were levied on Nestor, Claude, and Francis are also that they are that's kind of, you know, they are responsible for for equipping these guys with explosives, weapons of mass destruction. And when we look at the trend recently, the way the guys have been operating, they have been using these explosives. It means that this material has been succeeding to find its way into the country.
Yes,
we talk of porous borders.
Effectively.
And you also talked of the accounts, and I want to salute the action that government has taken, and I think the Central African Sub-region, by refusing to adopt cryptocurrency, because it's one of the ways that they use to raise their money, and through which they are selling the money to their intermediaries who now dispatch.
Thank you very much. We needed that. I think we're going to move out of this topic. We have another topic. Yes, Victor, what do you want to say that you didn't say?
It's important to note that the US government is determined to weed out every individual, every single soul that has been involved in causing violence back in Cameroon.
No, the U.S. government does that anywhere you are. Whether you are in the U.S. or you are out of the U.S.
Like Chris Anu,
it's okay. It's okay.
Their homes were searched.
Yes, it's okay. You've talked about that.
Escaped their homes.
Victor.
And their phones, laptops, searched. That is a very strong signal that the U.S. is determined to fish out pockets of
you said that already.
Sponsors of terrorism.
You said that already. You are last intervention.
And back home, I have one message.
Please.
I have one message.
Please.
If you kill an Anglophone and you claim you are fighting for independence, you are deceiving yourself. If you kill a Cameroonian, you are deceiving yourself. I think, like the head of state said, we are capable and able to talk to one another and solve our problems amicably without the use of violence.
Thank you.
Let's silence the guns.
Yes, thank you. All of us are for silencing the gun. Victor, thank you for that passion. You made a point. We're going to move out of this topic into the second topic, and it's after this interlude, this transition. Yes, the time is short. We are on the air already, please. This is what we are doing, anti-corruption drive. In the newspaper review, we heard about the seasoned barrister Akere Muna, former Batuni in Cameroon, international lawyer, who wrote an open letter to the Cameroonian parliament telling the parliament to handle the corruption cases in Cameroon, which many people are calling a scandal, a series of scandals. He wrote to parliament to do that. In the opening of the last the March parliamentary session, the eldest member also called that a spiral of a scandal of corruption in the country, and also pleaded with the parliament to handle this. Let us say that we are moving towards doing this. We have been talking about corruption. The head of state also has been talking about it in his last speech, not the last, but one in December 31 when he addressed the nation. The end of year speech, he said he was going to catch all those who are corrupt one by one. He said so before, and he had done that. We trust he is going to do that anytime soon. Tell us, William Titi Ituwe, Senior Staff, National Anti-Corruption Commission, CONAC, how far, if we were to ask you, have we gone with fighting corruption in this country?
My answer to that question is slowly, gradually, but surely. I can't tell you how far in terms of measurement, like in kilometers, the distance.
In percentage, maybe?
Percentage, maybe not, but I can use some indices to let you know. If you go by the Corruption Perception Index from 2019 to today, 2019, we were 153, position 153 with 25 points on 100. 2020, we had the same number of points, but we were 149th. 2021, we were 142nd, and 2022, that's the last year index, we came 142nd, so 144 to 142. So you see the gradual, that's the progression. It means something is being done.
140.
Last in 2021, it was Cameroon occupied the 144th position out of 180 countries that were measured, that were on the list.
Yes, and recently
Cameroon is 142nd. It means we have moved 2 steps forward.
Can we sit and beat our chest and say that's progress?
We cannot beat our chest because corruption remains a major problem in Cameroon. Like you talked of the barrister. I mean, with the scandals we are having now, it's not like the progress in the anti-corruption index released by Transparency International means that there is joy on the ground. We of the National Anti-Corruption Commission, we are crying because we think that there is much that can be done if there is an adherence from the public, if there is enough instruments, there are enough instruments to reinforce the fight, if the institutions that are also charged with the fight against corruption, because what other people don't know is that it's not only CONAC that is supposed to fight corruption in Cameroon. Article 2 of the Constitution, of the text creating CONAC in this book that I have, indicates that the National Anti-Corruption Commission assists government in the implementation of the national strategy for the fight against corruption.
Is that not where
in other words,
it goes all wrong by assisting government?
No, assisting the government means that, let me explain, means that other institutions are there. CONAC is just part of, is the central organ, yes, but it's part of an arm or part of a body that fights corruption in Cameroon. We have other institutions that you know. Even the ministries themselves have a mandate to fight corruption.
Kilian,
the National Gendarmerie has the mandate. The National Police has the mandate. Even individual schools. I will tell you that when this national strategy for fight against corruption was elaborated in 2010, there was a study that was carried out, and there were some 10 major sectors that came up as prone areas for corruption, and amongst them was the education sector. And when you go by the classification, primary comes last, secondary just goes as it progresses, with the higher education being one of the most corrupt. So now, if we go by this document was elaborated and inspired by actors in that domain who proposed solution based on their own, what they call cahier de charge, what they are supposed to do to fight corruption to limit it.
I will plead with you that I would like to cut Bill a bit. Bill, sorry for intervening. Unfortunately, the issues I want to say here, I'm happy that we have Bill here. I have a few questions for Bill, and I have an assignment. I have a few issues which I want to raise.
Yes, to raise.
Yes, not questions. I have some issues which I want to raise. Mr. Bill, when you go back,
yes,
I pray and I hope that your boss is listening to us.
Yes.
Tell him that between Boya and Yaoundé, there are gendarmes placed all over the road with motorbikes collecting 2,000 francs, and it's almost official. Tell them that there are police officers placed all over the road and they're collecting 500 francs. They don't even need to look at the driver's documents or whatever. Tell them that that is what is happening in this country. Now, tell them as well that in our judicial system, that our courts have been transformed into areas where we now buy and sell justice. In fact, justice is bought and sold depending on who has money in his pocket. Tell them that Vanessa Trotchet daughter was stolen from a hospital and she knows where that child is and nothing is being done about it. Now tell them as well, please tell them as well that in our hospitals now have been transformed into areas where you now buy and sell health services. Tell them that medical doctors now all have private clinics scattered all over the place, and they now transfer patients from public clinics to their private clinics because they want to make money. Tell them that a young graduate from Enam who read custom, in 2 to 3 months later he has built a duplex and have
I also say tell them to call 1517. Tell them to denounce, to connect. Tell them not to give the money when they ask. Tell them that they have a right to refuse. Tell them that they have to say no.
Now listen
to be corrupt.
Now I understand.
Or to accept to corruption. Tell them also, because this is the situation that you are naming. The gendarmerie has a toll-free number 1501. Many people have called and their issues have been solved. Maybe because they don't know. Maybe they should know from now that it's no matter.
In addition to 1501, you have 1,500.
Kindly permit me to land. Now let me land with quoting the education sector, which he said and which he had. Besides being recruited perhaps as specialists to rig elections, our senior administrators and senior divisional officers are now using our teachers, especially secondary school teachers, as a successful business for them. In fact, I want it to go on record that there are senior divisional officers, senior administrators now in the Northwest and Southwest region, or so, who are collecting 50,000 francs from teachers and threatening them to suspend their salaries. And paradoxically, each time they write and send to finance just goes ahead to suspend salary, even without consulting the mother ministry.
Let them send to CONAC as well. Tell them,
what we are saying, Kilian, somebody said, and I want permit me quote Chino Achebe in his long essay, the trouble with Nigeria, published in 1983. Achebe says that tribalism and corruption are first cousins.
Now
what does that mean? What that means is that when a country
Victor, I'm going to give
administer on the basis of tribalism, the natural tendency is for corruption to be spreading all over the place. And for somebody
please,
CONAC is its work, CONAC is progressively coping corruption.
Dr. Emmanuel,
to be honest,
Dr. Emmanuel,
the height of dishonesty, because
Dr. Emmanuel
has a lot of
you cannot speak alone. Let me just hold on. I have this to give to Doctor.
Yes.
This is Cameroon's 2020 anti-corruption status report. And you can open to pages 17. You will see desertion and unlawful collection of salaries. There's a teacher that is punished. There's a list of teachers punished on page 17. Desertion and unlawful collection of salaries. It is in that book. We mean that I am not defending CONAC by stating a fact. All the points you have made,
we have good documents, good things documented.
If you open a reach, that's a report. I'm giving you a report with actions that have been taken.
I think I will add this.
I think Dr. has raised good points, and William has presented facts which show that CONAC has been working. But let me say this: fighting corruption is a moral responsibility which must take a holistic approach. I think it is by no mistake that we have a reverend man of God at the helm of CONAC. Some years back in Nigeria, the head of the anti-corruption unit was arrested. In Zambia, few months ago, the head of the audit bench was arrested. Now, but we have countries where they are, holding the forth to fight corruption, like in Cameroon, and the progress is sure. But the problem is that Cameroonians must take up that responsibility to help CONAC achieve zero corruption society. If, for example, you're on the highway, you have all documents intact, and they ask you for, let's say, 1,000 francs,
why would
you are not compelled to give.
Good.
It is your right to complain to CONAC, or even there and then to remind the officer that, please, according to this law or this, I have my documents intact. Why are you then requesting for this amount? I think we have to be very serious in terms of helping CONAC to fight corruption.
Hasn't
and on
spoken.
On that aspect, I wish to salute the holistic approach, because CONAC has been courageous, to come out and name and even
when
almost
the number of high-profile prisoners are increasing on a daily basis in our prisons.
Doctor, like I often say,
that those indications that the corruption
CONAC needs to be given the power
people and send them to
sanction
the 30 years after they have
to be given the power
in their account.
How does that
help the country?
Now, see, let me give the opportunity
arresting people and locking them up in the name of corruption, in the name of Operation Sparrow Hawk does not help the country.
Dr. Emmanuel, please. Dr. Emmanuel, let James have a say.
I think
Victor, please. Victor. Now, before you speak, James, this is what I want to say. Yesterday was Saturday. I was on the road from Yaoundé to Bafoussam with the National Gendarmerie. If they stop you and you have all your documents, because I saw people who had documents, they control and you go. If they control you and you give money behind means, you have a problem. We are not saying that doesn't exist. Of course, we are talking about what you know, and we respect your opinion. You only give when you have a problem. Yes, James.
Even when you don't have a problem, you have to.
James, please.
Yes,
even when you don't have a problem, you have to give.
I will first of all start by saluting all the very honest people in the public there who shy away from practicing corruption. We have a good number of them. And then I'm also a little bit disappointed with William. You're from CONAC. At least listen to what the public is saying. What you're doing, you may think is the best, but then the public has an opinion. So when they want to talk, at least give a chance. Why we have been concentrating on fighting corruption? Political corruption underlines everything, and that's something that we turn a blind eye to. There is a statement by Ndifon that CRTV used to play over and over, that when you rig elections, you rig the nation, you rig offices, you rig everything, you make nonsense of everything. And so sometimes when you see an authority sitting in a position that he or she rigged his way into that position, there's no way corruption cannot be part of that office. When you pay huge amount of money to go into a NAM, there's no way you will not practice corruption. It becomes endemic. So the moment we shift attention from we also put some attention, not only into looking into financial corruption, but political corruption. In fact, I think to me that one is even far bigger, because when you corrupt, you just make a mess of the whole nation. Look at I'm sorry for getting back into this subject. When you look at the Reconstruction Commission, read a report of what they do on the ground. I mean, what they do is fascinating. They tell you they've built skyscrapers, perhaps in the air.
We're going to talk about that. The situation in the ground is difficult. No, just hold on.
How else we talk about corruption?
No, that is another topic we are planning even to treat in the nearest future, because the presidential plan for reconstruction of conflict zone, northwest, southwest, and then far north is ongoing. We are going to handle some of those things. What we are saying here now is corruption. We cannot let you have just about 3 minutes left. We're going to greet people who fight corruption with all their energy. They are crusaders of anti-corruption. You name Tumfo Nekuhale, whom all of us know his commitment to that. We salute him here. Yes, Bill Titi, when you made the statement you make, because I want you to be the person to give us the way forward,
yes,
that CONAC is assisting government. Yes, it's not the only organ. You have some other organs. Don't you think that CONAC has to go beyond just proposing? It's true that they have some minor interventions and the rest. They should be autonomous. They should have their own court to to punish.
Of course, I think that's what CONAC is asking for. And like I said, the fight against corruption is a collective effort. It's a national assignment. It's not just CONAC. CONAC presently is lobbying for the anti-corruption law. It's lobbying for the full application of Article 66. Recently, the Parliamentary Network Against Corruption was at the head office of CONAC with the CONAC chairman to see how they can push forward that aspect into their debate so that we can have that. What you're talking about is not dependent on CONAC. It's not CONAC to create courts. CONAC is supposed to be given the power to indict.
That's what we are talking about.
The power. So if, for instance, you create a child, or if God created a child and decided to give that child a tooth or two teeth, the child can only ask God again, please God, I need a third, fourth, five, I need to have my 32 teeth in my mouth so that I can not just bite, I can bite through that and vomit. That analogy, the civil society is a stakeholder in the fight against corruption.
Yes.
But I think doctor can be a good actor as a civil society activist, as an intellectual, as an academician. We are needing people like this who can even stand on the road and tell the uniformed men who are perpetrating acts of corruption and tell them, this is not what you're supposed to do. Let them know that Cameroonians are not ignorant. Cameroonians are aware, and they should denounce corruption to CONAC.
Give us the numbers. Give us the numbers.
You denounce corruption to CONAC calling the hotline number, which is 1517.
Yes.
You call the number and you denounce the actor.
Are there other numbers?
The other numbers. On WhatsApp, you can take a picture of video and send to CONAC through CONAC WhatsApp number. I think the CONAC WhatsApp number, you have them in the documents that you have is 658-262682.
Yes.
The document I have, you have all the numbers, and by the time I leave this place, I'll make sure that everybody has a document. 658-262682. That's the CONAC WhatsApp number. That permits people to send denunciations with the documents that can substantiate that claim. There is also the CONAC website, which is www.conac.cm,
yes,
which is operational, which if you go now, you will find, you can drop a denunciation or get information on the actions or activities of CONAC.
Yes, I will just get directly to Dr. Emmanuel Imbo. Please report those cases to CONAC. I know this also is a platform that you are using to expose what you have been living, you have been seeing. But we think that you should take it further by calling CONAC 1517 and the
658-262682.
Yes,
you are right. We have been calling. My problem I have with them is it doesn't suffice to take somebody and send to prison that the person has embezzled 30 million. It doesn't help the country in any way. Ask maybe go to tar the road from Bamenda to Gum.
Don't be individual.
Some other person
don't
to
go
tar the road.
personal.
No, these are money that
don't go personal.
But that does not depend on CONAC. You know that the government has to create a recovery commission
that is my
to
worry.
recover money that has been stolen from the state.
When you steal and then you go and you are relaxing you in Konongi and drinking champagne, how does that help the country?
That's part of the lobbying that CONAC is doing now. So that there can be recovery commission.
We need that money to be recovered and invested in the country.
Yes, exactly.
Arresting and locking people up will not resolve the problem.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Imbo Emmanuel, who is an academic. He is a civil society activist. Thank you, Mr. Akaba James, who is a civil society actor. Thank you very much, William Titi Etwell, senior staff, National Anti-Corruption Commission. Thank you very much, Victor Cham Bama, who is a publisher, editor-in-chief of Municipal Update Daily. And I want to give you a big thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for giving us your time on today's edition of Press Hour. We have another Press Hour come next Sunday, but for those of you who didn't watch from the beginning, you have a full broadcast of today's edition on Monday at 2:30. Thanks once again. Be blessed.